Think gadget reviews, news, and all about it.
Motorola Moto X, 2014, review. No hype. No world firsts. No gimmicks. No cues around the block. And yet, this is one of the finest Android smartphones ever made. How? Almost pure Android. A gorgeous 5.2 in Full HD display. 13MP camera. Touchless voice controls. And, how could we forget, even more customization than last year's original X. Can all its touches, tweaks and specs add up to a big win for Motorola? Yes they can. DIY design done right. With the iPhonification of Samsung, see Galaxy Alpha, and the Samsungisation of the iPhone, see the iPhone 6 Plus, the Moto X stands out. It has personality, if you want it to. Moto Maker, Motorola's pre-order customization service, has got bigger and better thanks to more options, international orders and photorealistic renders. With lovely soft touch plastic, real leather and FSC-certified wood rear panels to choose from, plus thousands of accent color combinations, 3 iPhone options starts to look stingy. Whatever you choose, you get an impressively engineered sleek and solid build, white or black front panel, the Motorola logo dimple and a new aluminium frame that's lighter on the white model and a darker titanium on the black model. If you've really converted to Moto this year, that means you can pair your Moto X with a similarly hued Moto 360 smartwatch. You fashion darling, you! Read more. The Moto 360 is the end of bad smartwatch design. It's worth noting that the regular black resin model is a bit of a steal at £420, but other materials cost more. The real leather version starts at £440 and the wood Moto X starts at £460. You won't regret it if you splash out, though we hear that the leather model needs a bit of TLC to keep it tidy. This is a big phone that doesn't feel big. From the front it looks a bit like an LG G3, another smartphone that's serious about not wasting space. Neither are truly edge-to-edge, but with bezels this skinny we're not complaining. The G3's screen is a touch bigger, at 5.5 in, but the Moto X does come in both slightly smaller and slightly lighter at 145 grams. And as Moto points out, it's the same width as the Galaxy S5 with a bigger screen. As with the first Moto X, it feels well made. It's also splash resistant, not quite waterproof but better than nothing. Thanks to a shallow curve it sits nicely in the hand despite the fact that the 2014 edition is bigger in both dimensions. But this could be the first 4.7 in plus phone that smaller hands find manageable. You can just about get a thumb across to the top corners. It's perfectly stable and balanced in the hand, and the microSP socket, nano-SIM slot and headphone jack are located top and bottom, leaving the tapered sides clutter-free. Only the power button and volume rocker grace the right-hand edge, with the power button textured to make it easier to identify with only your digits. So Motorola outclasses both Samsung and LG in the design department. And boy does it compete on components, too. Awesome AMOLED. There's simply no weak link in the Moto X's spec sheet. Unlike last year when the Moto X's admittedly lovely 720p display was outgunned by Full HD screen after Full HD screen, this year it matches many of the flagships on pixel count. Okay, LG and Samsung have raced ahead with 2K screens on the G3 and Note 4. But many others including HTC and Sony have stuck with 1080p, and these by no means feel like second-class screens. The Moto X is 424p, so text looks seriously smooth and pics look sharp. The LG offers more detail in high-res photos and video, but you'll only notice it with your face right up to the screens, eyeballs flitting from one to the other. In which case you may get odd glances on the train. This is an AMOLED display and you should know what that means. Colors are on the punchier side of the spectrum, without looking too alien, deep, Deep blacks put the iPhone and LG to shame, and viewing angles are great. The pixels look very close to the glass too, not quite iPhone close but close. The downside of AMOLED colors is that from certain angles whites can look a bit yellow. If you spend a lot of time on emails and web pages, this will start to grate, though we have heard promising whispers on the web of different units having slightly different color temperatures. Our favorite bit about the screen, though? What it does when it's off. Really? Read more, Samsung Galaxy Note 4 review. This is the future, simple, smart and sensorific. Motorola's always-on sensors, controls and software debuted on the first Moto X but have really come into their own on this year's spec'd-up hardware. If you love Google, you'll love the Moto X. This phone is all about making Google's powerful services constantly available and useful. The scarily clever Google Now launcher can be accessed with a swipe to the right from the main home screen, as with the Nexus. Motorola, unlike Samsung and Sony, keeps things simple by not doubling up on media services. There's just the Play Store, play music, movies, and books. Nothing here is as pretty as the likes of HTC's Sense 6, but with the incoming Android L update, Google's new material design will spruce the aesthetics up. Apart from a few extremely useful, forward-thinking apps, which are helpfully bundled together in the Moto app, this is pretty much pure Android KitKat, until L arrives. You choose what to set up. There are a few tutorials that pop up on how to activate features, but these are easily ignored. As we just hinted, our favorite of the bunch is the battery-saving Moto display, which shows monochrome notifications on the lock screen when your hand approaches it, triggering up to 3 app icons. Touching each app bubble shows a preview of notifications at a glance, and swiping down unlocks the handset. Being an AMOLED screen, the black pixels, which fill the majority of the screen, don't draw any power, and it can't be activated in pockets or face down. Combined with the Moto X's subtle haptics, checking Moto display makes for one of those addictive little habits, much like Touch ID on the iPhone. There's more. Motorola uses its sensors much like Samsung does to turn the screen off when you're not looking at it. Here it's called attentive display. Calls and alarms can be silenced and snoozed with a wave of a hand, too. That's nothing entirely new, but it's worth confirming that both work perfectly. Motorola has its own unique tricks. Touchless voice controls return so that the X picks up your voice commands even when the screen is off and you're up to 3 feet away. A very cool tweak is that you can now change the command phrase from OK Google to anything you like, as long as it's a certain number of syllables. What's up, Doc? Is too short, for instance, but Hey Samantha is fine. Read more, Motorola's wireless earbud from the future, Moto Hint. The most impressive thing is how seamlessly it all works together. The motion sensors register your hand hovering over the phone every single time, so that by the time you've picked it up, Moto display is on screen. Voice works well with the different modes in Moto Assist, including home, sleep, meeting and driving. Say good night to the phone and it will switch to a do not disturb sleep mode. There's plenty of further customization to explore, but it never descends into chaos. Lots of phone makers claim their Android skin is simple, but here's the thing, Motorola's actually is. All-day battery will get better with L. Now, we're not saying smartphone makers should stop trying to improve on Android. For instance, we wouldn't turn our nose up at a power-saving mode, ultra or otherwise. But with an all-day battery life, helped by Moto Display, and Android L's battery-saving software on the way, the fact that the Moto X goes without for now isn't a deal-breaker. We've been getting around 12 hours a day out of it, and that's including a mammoth 3-hour commute. In our HD video rundown test, looping a 720p video with the screen set to half brightness and Wi-Fi and sync switched on, the Moto X's fairly small 2300 mAh unit puts in a very respectable showing with 10 hours 30 minutes. That's an almost identical score to the iPhone 6 and better than the LG G3 by an hour, It's still hours behind the incredible battery of the Sony's Xperia Z3, but it's plenty to be getting on with. Reliable then, but nothing to swoon over. Move along.